Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk something about metadata. Okay, what is metadata? That is what we want to see here. Last time we saw about BSD Unix operating systems. What is an INODE? INODE is something like index noding, index nodes, or set of indexes used for finding the whereabouts of the different systems and memory units and other things. Okay, different kinds of hardware that is available, and directly index those things onto a particular kind of thing, which is the kind of directory structure, direct and file information. Okay, so this is the kind of indexing that is used for by BSD systems and other operating systems to do the indexing and kind of finding out. So metadata is basically used for indexing. So when you have a huge chunk of something, okay, and you want to find a particular thing on this whole chunk, okay, it's a kind of search information, search engines and other things, okay. So some are related to the metadata are related to different kinds of things, okay. So metadata is a kind of thing which is used in any kind of computer kind of thing. It's some kind of memory unit, okay. It's some kind of memory unit, not really some kind of memory used for finding the exact kind of position and other things. So if you take artificial intelligence, okay, it's going to reduce the amount of metadata. Okay, so already we saw how the kernels are layered, how the shells are layered, BSD systems, and each one of these metadata is going to be used as a, whether it is language, meta language, or meta language is, I already told you, like bits or the first level, then you have the assembly as the second level of meta language, and C is the third level of meta language, and C++ is the fourth level of meta language, and things like that. So language itself has got different kind of structural environment where in which you have metadata, meta language, and you kind of similarly index nodes also have some kind of metadata which is used for calculating the devices and other things. Okay, so most of the things of when you say meta of something, it means that it is a kind of higher level, one over the other kind of thing. So is encompassing part of the functional features of the whole thing, so that you can easily learn the things at a higher level rather than going deep down on some bits and pieces of those kind of binary digits and other things. That is why metadata is used. Device virtualization is the basic thing of metadata. Okay, what exactly metadata means? What is the things? A set of data that describes and gives information about other data. So you have some data and you want to describe what the data means, then you have to use some kind of metadata. So if you have a huge chunk of memory, okay, then you want to address those memory and find out what, if you want to go to a particular location, without the address you cannot go. Okay, so it is similar to that. So metadata is something to do with addressing or indexing, or kind of so even if you go to the internet, okay, IP address version 6, IP version 6 is something to do with addressing of the entire internet, or number of different kinds of internet possible. Okay, so that is why IP version 6 is a kind of metadata for finding out the exact position of different kinds of devices within a particular zone, within a particular region. So metadata is always used in any kind of layering, whether I already told you, like kind of machine, hardware component kind of things where you use metadata. And so the different kinds of metadata, there's physical layer metadata, then you have uh, you know uh, uh, physical data link layer metadata, then you have inter physical data link network layer metadata, then you have network layer metadata, session layer metadata, and higher application level metadata. Application level metadata is what is called intelligence. Okay, so when you go to the metadata to the application level, then it means what is called the intelligence, or the AI uses those kind of application level metadata to manipulate So that is what is called higher learning, or deep learning kind of structures. So deep learning information is always about highest level of metadata in case of networks or artificial intelligence. Okay, when you're talking about networks and artificial intelligence, how those metadata is useful for those kind of things. Those kind of optimization or the routing optimization and other things are done by these kind of metadata, where it reduces the amount of metadata to get the information fast. Okay, so if we have IP version 6 or something like that, it is a huge number to manipulate, and the number of devices that's good. So you have to mask some of the things. So you have to mask some of the things and find the regions of some of the things, and then you have a zoning kind of thing. Then finally you find the kind of network that you are going to go in and find out the exact position of a particular component, or particular device, or a network device or something like that. So the whole thing about artificial intelligence is about reducing the amount of metadata on each layering of the BSD systems. So artificial intelligence, when you think of it, machine learning is a kind of building all this kind of metadata to do things. Okay, metadata is a kind of memory unit kind of thing which is going to be used for kind of machine learning things. Once the machine learning, deep learning is going to reduce all this machine learning and make it optimal at a higher level. Okay, higher level, the like application level, or kind of like AI level. Okay, artificial intelligence level, it is going to reduce all the things. That is why it is at a deep learning procedures kind of thing. Okay, so when you ask for deep learning, what is machine learning and deep learning? This metadata is the one which is used for any kind of optimization of, as far the machine functioning is concerned, and other kinds of data crunching and other things is used. Okay, so if you take say you want to find out the weather conditions and whether it will rain today or something like that. Okay, so first you have to collect the data. Okay, so collect the data from different data points. That is going to be the metadata. Then it is going to crunch all this metadata into smaller metadata or something like that, which is useful for the calculation to find out exactly whether it is going to rain or not. Okay, then it finds out the exact position of all the things, and finally it comes out at the highest level of intelligence to find out whether it is going to rain or not today. So the logical conclusions at the highest level of data positioning is called deep learning kind of architecture. Okay, so machine learning is basic metadata of the machines, and deep learning is the higher levels of metadata of any kind of network architecture and other things. Okay, so what exactly metadata means? Okay, data that provide information about other data. Metadata summarizes basic information about data, making finding and working with particular instance of data easier. Metadata can be created manually to be more accurate or automatically and contain more basic information. Okay, what is metadata? Why is it important as the data itself? Why we use metadata is for everything as a virtual kind of thing. So device virtualization, system virtualization, layered virtual language virtualization, these are all things which are used in a computer or a BSD system to do what is called the for virtualization only you use metadata. Okay, so we need this virtualization to understand the whole thing. This system understanding is a kind of thing which is used, so we need the basic metadata to do all the virtualization. Without virtualization, it's very difficult to find different kinds of components and other things, and if you go on indexing the whole thing, it is going to be enormous. So indexing is a kind of way of finding out the metadata components and reducing the metadata components, and it's got different kinds of methods of doing all the things metadata components, but we are not going to detail how those things are all produced and things like that. For example, author, date created, date modified, and file size are examples of very basic document file metadata. So file metadata has got what? Author, date created, date modified, and file size. Okay, these are the basic things of metadata for a file structures. Also having ability to search for a particular element or elements of that metadata makes it much easier for someone to locate specific documents. So if you go into cloud computing and other things, so cloud computing, when you want, you have to use the metadata for cloud server computing. So different kinds of cloud will be clustered together, and if you want to put the metadata onto each one of them, it is going to be extremely huge. So you have to reduce the amount of metadata for the virtualization of the cloud, and you have to do the computation really fast. So it's a kind of more a kind of parallel processing where you have to reduce the amount of cloud virtualization and other things. So and to get the things done really fast. Okay, so functionality, the speed and the time required, and the amount of metadata required optimization, this whole thing of optimization is what is about artificial intelligence of a particular machine or a particular kind of structure. Mostly metadata gives what is called a structure to the particular kind of machine. Okay, so metadata is associated with structural learning of something. Okay, so if you want to do structural learning of something, you have to use the metadata. You cannot just use any kind of other things. So if you want to structurally put some things and logically derive at some kind of conclusions, you have to use metadata to do it. Okay, that is how the brain stores some of the information about kind of metadata, and how to optimize those metadata, and how to kind of reduce the memory amount and things like that. There are three main types of metadata: descriptive, administrative, and structural. So the structural information is the basic thing of first metadata. Administrative is another one. Another one is descriptive. Descriptive is what is the thing, data about data, and descriptive. Sometimes functionality also can be defined as a kind of metadata, where if you go into actual, the functioning of the machines and other things, then you have some kind of metadata that is available for the functionality things also. Okay, structural is the basic thing of metadata to understand the whole thing as a kind of structural kind of learning. Okay, learning methods and finding out conclusions about the things. Just a logical derivative is what is called a structural learning. So logically, if you put something, okay, you have a huge memory structure and you want to logically partition and other things, then it is going to be a structured things which you are going to put in. And in order to create a structure, you need what is called a metadata and other things. If you don't have anything structural, then you don't need any kind of metadata. Okay, because it's going to be just a flat structure, and you don't have to need any kind of addressing unit to implement how much of things is there, and what kind of levels of intelligence you want, those kind of things. Okay, including some of the things of encryption and other things, those are also some kind of metadata. Okay, so technical metadata, then you have preservation metadata, then you have rights metadata. Okay, what are the four types of metadata? Administrative metadata, okay, technical metadata, preservation metadata, rights metadata. So these are the four different types of metadata that is used in systems or any kind of cloud computing and other things, or including other kinds of system uh, structuring, or system designs. And even designs are using some kind of metadata. Okay, the metadata is very useful in kind of any kind of design structures. Learning some of the things is about basically about creating all this metadata in a structural format, and trying to analyze the whole thing. Okay, so the analytical ability is usually derived from the way the metadata is stored and how it is optimized, and those kind of things are there. Okay, other relevant words known for data, functionality, and information. So information is going to be stored in a structural format. Data, functionality, data is also is going to be in a structured format, and functionality is also is going to be in a structural format. If these three things are in structural format, then it's called a metadata. Okay, so data, functionality, information are going to be stored as a kind of metadata for kind of system optimization, or a deep learning kind of. Deep learning works at the highest level of making all these optimization work on lower levels of machine learning. Okay, what is the purpose of metadata? Ensure that data are fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Okay, finding metadata makes it much easier to find relevant data. Most searches are done using text like Google search. So formats like audio, images, and video are limited unless text metadata is available. Okay. Text is the highest level of metadata. Okay, so when you are just reading a particular, what is the purpose of metadata, when you're making a question like that, that is the highest level of metadata, which is going to be reduced into other things, and it is going to be optimized and finally found out from the machine structures and other things, and then language manipulations and other things, then finally get to the lowest level of bits and pieces, and finally get the answer. Okay, to produce something like an answer sheet or something like that. So metadata is going to do all this kind of optimization, structural formation, and things like that. What is metadata stored? Where is metadata? Metadata can be stored in a variety of places where the metadata relates to databases. The data is often stored in tables and fields within the database. So basically, when you think about database, it is going to be tables and fields. Okay, tables are the ones, fields are the lowest level of automation. Okay, and the next level is tables. Okay, that is how we relate or how we cluster. Clusters of fields are called tables. Okay, within the tables, if it is organized, then you call it what is called a database. Okay, sometimes the metadata exists in a specific document or a database designed to store such data, called a data dictionary or a metadata repository. So metadata can be repository and can be relational. You can relate to them, or you can just dump it as a kind of data repository and other things. So it can be relational. If you are organize the whole thing as a kind of relational structure, then it is called a relational database. If you're going to organize the whole thing as a hierarchical, this hierarchical structure will be used, and that is going to be a other kind of metadata repository. And these different types of metadata repository, which can be used for different kinds of organizing the thing and getting out the information and optimizing, and other things are there. Functionality optimization, structural optimization, and other things are used for metadata. How is metadata created? Metadata can create either by automated information processing or by manual work. Elementary metadata captured by computers can include information about when an object was created, who created it, when it was last updated, file size, and file extension. Okay, so basically something about when you consider something, it is just taken as a file kind of thing, and how it is optimized. Does a PDF contain metadata? PDF documents created in Acrobat 5.0 or later contain a document metadata in XML format. So they have XML format for higher level kinds of things. So metadata include information about the documents, the content such as the author's name, keywords, copyright information. Then it can be used for search utilities. So the metadata is used for searching utilities and things like that. So the amount of metadata reduction and amount of this thing will be done by deep learning, and amount of metadata that is generated is by machine learning. So metadata is usually generated whole thing is generated by machine learning process. Okay, and it is optimized and things like that. But higher levels of things of deep learning will do a optimization of the whole thing. Metadata is basic necessary for any kind of systems, whether it is computer systems or any kind of machine automation systems, or any kind of hardware or software overlay. The metadata can be done either through hardware or software. It doesn't mean that it is only through hardware. It can be done only through software, but it can be done over hardware also. So like switches, like if you take internet and you have switches, it's a metadata which is stored as a kind of switch kind of thing. Okay, so it is not done in hardware, but it is hard coded as a kind of but not as done as a software, but it's hard coded as a kind of hardware. Okay, so that is why metadata can be represented in terms of hardware also. Okay, when you're designing any kind of systems and other things in hardware, it is some kind of hardware metadata that is being used to give the structural formation and other things. How you optimize those things are all depends on machine learning and deep learning process. Okay, what is an example of image metadata? Okay, it includes camera details and settings such as aperture, shutter speed, ISO number, focal depth, dots per inch, And other automatically generated metadata include the camera brand and model, the date and time when image was created, and GPS location where it was created. So first we saw BSD and operating system as a kind of what kind of levels of virtualization, different types of virtualization, what is the levels of virtualization. So deep learning and machine learning are the two things which are using metadata will be always produced by the lower levels, the machine learning kind of things, and optimization of the whole machine learning process is done by what is called a deep learning, and it gets the things answers very fast. Okay, so functional optimization, then you have structural optimization. Those kind of sort of things are quite complex. I don't want to discuss the whole thing, but metadata is the one which is being used for any kind of learning structures, learning functionality, learning other kinds of information learning and other things. How do you use metadata in a sentence? How do you use metadata in a sentence? The nationwide metadata enhanced search engines provide feasible federal metadata initiations were not. This contains 143 metadata records for digital photographs from the Springborn Community Museum, part of the Casco Digital Library. What is a what is SQL metadata? Okay, SQL structured query language also has got some kind of metadata. Metadata are most of you may already know provides the basic and relevant information about the data. Metadata functions in SQL Server return information about the database, database objects, database files, file groups, etc. in SQL Server. So even in database, they use metadata to access some of the query language. Query is also the functionality media of. So SQL can be optimized. Okay, sometimes. Okay, that also done by machine learning and deep learning process of an artificial intelligence kind of environment. Okay, so even the SQL queries can be shortlisted and reduced as a kind of the amount of metadata that is relevant, and structural reformatting and reducing the amount of structural complexity and other things. Okay, so, as for artificial intelligence, the basic thing how you have to know what is the metadata, how it is created for systems, what is index nodes for BSD systems, and what is this index nodes mean for a BSD system, what is the metadata, why it is index nodes are used for as a metadata for device virtualization and other things. Okay, so that is all for today. And if you go to higher levels of website and other things, metadata is a pretty common thing which is used as a kind of machine learning and deep learning kind of process, and whole thing is about optimization of these metadata components of structural, functional, and data optimization. Okay, as far artificial intelligence is concerned. So that might be an introduction on to how AI works on deep learning and machine learning kind of architectures, how the systems behave, and what kind of hardware also can be, like FPGA and other things. They do some kind of optimization work for us as the metadata is concerned. If they want to change the routing and another structures. Okay, that is all for today about metadata and what is meaning, how to use them in case of artificial intelligence and deep learning process. That's all for today.